Power.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand here in Las Vegas, Nevada, we present the first of our world title attractions, brought to you by Bloodshot, starring Vin Diesel, in theaters March 13th, and proper number 12 Irish whiskey, the finest, the tastiest, the smoothest liquid gold in the world. This bout is sanctioned by the WBO, the president, Francisco Valcarcel. Introducing our three judges scoring from ringside, we have Patricia Mars-Jarman, Julie Letterman, and Dawn Trella. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Junior Featherweight Championship of the World. Introducing to you first on my left, the challenger, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trunks with red trim, hailing from Masbate City in the Philippines. He weighed in right at the junior featherweight limit of 122 pounds. With a record of 19 wins and 2 losses, he has 16 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, in his U.S. debut, he is making his first attempt at a world title and seeking his 18th consecutive victory. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the WBO World Rank Challenger, introducing Jeo Santisima. And his opponent across the ring on my right, fighting out of the red corner, the defending world champion, wearing silver trunks with black trim, hailing from San Juan, Citlaltepec, Mexico. He weighed in the same as his opponent, 122 pounds. His outstanding record stands at 30 wins, 1 loss, 26 big wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making the 5th defense of his title, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the hard-hitting, defending WBO Junior Featherweight Champion of the World, introducing Emanuel El Vaquero Navarrete. And our third man in the ring now to give instructions, introducing Russell Mora.
First round.
Gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I want to remind you both to protect yourself and obey my commands. God bless you both. Touch up now.
The WBO Super Bantamweight Championship is on the line. Emanuel Navarrete, who is fighting for the first time this year against the challenger, making his U.S. debut, Jeo Santisima. The fighting champion, Emanuel Navarrete, his 5th title defense in the past 12 months. And historians have stated even for old-time world champions in the 50s and 60s, they didn't even have that busy of a schedule.
They didn't, and that's kind of one of the things that most people would have made them become a fan of Navarrete because of his activity. Granted, he hasn't fought the highest level of competition to get to this point, aside from his fight with Isaac Dogbe, but it was strange because it's kind of the same situation that Navarrete was in when he fought Dogbe. Nobody knew who Navarrete was. He didn't have a high level of opposition getting to that world title shot, and now the tables have turned where now he's the world champion fighting a guy that nobody's really ever heard of outside the Philippines.
Well, and the worst kind of fighter to go up against is someone who is as hungry and feels like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
And that's exactly the position that Santisima is in. You mentioned it, 17 straight wins, 15 of those by knockout. And in fact, when I watch kind of the tape on both of these guys, not a lot out there from Santisima, but he is a really good combination puncher. He has some great body work and maybe is even a little bit more technically sound of a boxer than is Navarrete.
And also, let us not forget that Navarrete from Mexico, Santisima from the Philippines. This place here, the MGM Grand Garden Arena, has seen its fair share of world-class prize fights between Mexico and the Philippines.
Yeah, one of the biggest moments in all of boxing in the last 10 years, the Juan Manuel Marquez knockout of Manny Pacquiao right here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I mean, that was a memory sitting ringside I will never forget.
Certainly one to write about in the history books, and history will be made here tonight. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, the rematch for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. When I look at Navarrete, Christina, I know that he 122 is becoming more difficult for him to make. He wasn't necessarily having the easiest of fight weeks because he made the weight, but it wasn't the easiest.
And it hasn't been for him these last couple of times. And he's been wanting a unification fight. It hasn't really come to fruition because of how frequently he's been fighting, and the dates haven't lined up. But I said, are you going to wait at 122 for unification, or are you moving up? And he kind of looked at me and was like, I might be moving up after this. This might be the last fight at 122 pounds. You might see 126 next fight.
Well, Navarrete is 25 years of age. Santisima is 23. And as you head into your mid-20s, sort of your late 20s, you start to put on more weight, more muscle. You develop your man strength. And I think that the body is starting to say, hey, Navarrete, move up to 126. But the fact that he made 122 here, I think speaks volumes as to his discipline heading into this fight against Santisima.
Absolutely, and he's always been that of a professional, and you could tell by good left hand there by answering the call the way that he has each and every time, every 2 months it seems like, to fight again. So, I mean, it kind of helps you because you don't have time in between fights to balloon up because you're fighting so often.
No doubt, it's like one trying to get to the other. Yep. Round 1 is in the books. So the Navarrete family is a fighting family.
Let's go!
Round 2, this one is scheduled for 12. The WBO Super Bantamweight Championship of the World is on the line. And Christina, when Santisima we asked him how you would describe Navarrete, he said he's a slugger and a fighter.
And that was the extent of it. I tried to get more out of him, but his English wasn't great. We tried. But, he's just one of those guys where in Santisima, okay, this is where I'm fighting, this is who I'm fighting, let's do it. This is a dream opportunity for him. And like you said earlier, right? I mean, what does he have to lose?
I mean, he's coming in unknown quantity and can literally change his life from quote-unquote rags to riches. And that is one of the items that I love about prize fighting. Jab comes out for Emanuel Navarrete. Doubling up on the jab. Santisima seems to be waiting for that home run shot as he's doing a lot of upward movement but not throwing anything back to Navarrete.
Yeah, and I think he's just being a little bit cautious, probably trying to feel out Navarrete, because in what I've seen from him, he does have pretty good punch output. He tends to let his hands go, obviously not against the level of competition Navarrete, so I think maybe he's just being a little bit cautious here in the first couple of rounds, as he should be.
Well, Navarrete can certainly put you on the deck. He has 26 victories by knockout out of his 30 total in his professional career. Emanuel Navarrete, who is 25 years of age. It's coming off of a victory on December 7th. That was against Francisco Horta by 4th round TKO. There's a good shot by Santisima as he rips to the body of Navarrete.
And he likes to go to the body. That's one of the things that he does best is working both sides of the body. So when he finally does let his hands go, I think you will see more of that body work.
And Christina, one would consider, as we're under a minute to go here in the second round, but with Navarrete not having the best of weight cuts, that Santisima should be ripping the body to see how much that weight cut drained Emanuel Navarrete.
And I don't know how privy they were to the fact that it's been a rough weight cut. I don't know how much of the coverage that they're watching or seeing him, but I mean, it was no stranger to anybody that watched the open workouts. If he was sitting in the fighter wings, it was a little bit dry, and it's been talked about throughout the media, but I don't know how privy that Santisima is to that. But either way, it works out well for him because he goes to the body anyway. That's part of his natural, game plan.
It is his bread and butter is Jeo Santisima. As we approach the end of the second round. Emanuel Navarrete, the champion known as Vaquero, and that means cowboy in English. He said that his uncle, when he was young, that they lived in a small town and they had cattle there, so they adopted the nickname of Vaquero.
As you see Santisima pick up the action to the body here in round 3, I think probably in his corner, I said, let's pick it up now. Let's start to let your hands go. He's done that so far in just the first 30 seconds here of round 3.
Well, he's starting off a lot stronger than what he has in the first 2 rounds, Christina, as you pointed out. And it's curious to see if Navarrete is going to be willing to fight fire with fire against Santisima.
And I think he is. It's kind of true to the book on him. He sometimes sacrifices his defense to get his offense off, and sometimes has taken some unnecessary punches, but not really at the hands of anybody that he's had to worry about to this point. But his team says his best defense is his offense, so he'll definitely stand in the pocket and throw. It's just a matter of if he can take some punches from a guy that has 16 knockouts in 19 fights.
Well, both men have quite a bit of power. A left hook that connected.
Nice.
Santisima went backwards, and I don't know if Navarrete knows that he hurt him that much. And now he rips away to the body, does Navarrete.
Yeah, Santisima has that right hand held in real tight close to his body. He felt that shot.
He got stung considerably, and he took about 3 or 4 steps backwards, and Navarrete took about 3 or 4 seconds, and it clicked in his mind, oh, wait a minute, I stung him, I hurt him. Just over the midway point of the third. Well, now we're starting to see that quote-unquote feeling out process, Christina, dissipate between the two combatants.
Yeah, it picked up right from the opening bell of this round, but you know, once Jeo gets tagged like he did to the body there by Navarrete, now he's reverted right back to that shell a little bit more on the defensive than he was in the first half of this round.
It's like, okay, now we're in something.
Yeah, and you'll see as Jeo starts to let his hands go, Navarrete will do the same. I mean, he won the first 2 rounds arguably just off using his jab. So he hasn't really had to open up more as he does now in this exchange.
There's an overhand right that was blocked by Santisima. Both men starting to let their hands go more. You know that the super bantamweight division, an exciting division here in boxing. Ray Vodka is also a world champion within the division. There's a left hook by Navarrete as he pushes back Santisima. A right hand spraying the Filipino as well.
Oh, Ray Vargas versus Emanuel Navarrete would be a great matchup.
I think it would be just bombs away.
Yes.
You need to put that fight in Mexico. Both men are Mexican champions.
So good.
And Navarrete is quite popular down in Mexico. He's been featured on national television several times with his fights. A left hook to the body, but answering back to Santisima. Look at this action as we conclude the third.
There we go. Heating up a little bit here, last 10 seconds. That's what the fans want to see.
That is the end of the round. Yesterday, the weigh-in was sold out here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Finally, we are here to fight night.
I know, it was so crazy yesterday at the weigh-ins. I didn't know this because we were inside and you were on stage working, but they had to like shut the doors and like lock people out. They would not let any more people in, even media. They were at capacity for what they expected for the weigh-in. So just a testament to how many fight fans are out here, and you saw Bob Arum in there. He's been in that seat since the opening bell tonight.
And you know what?
Incredible.
That is a guy who is constantly, with everything he's done in his career, he's still working hard and trying to sell pay-per-views and talking to fans and media. I don't know where Bob gets his energy from.
It's amazing what he's done. He's a living legend, and I'm really glad he's getting his kudos and his roses and everything while he's still there, because he absolutely deserves it. He said, you know, from promoting Muhammad Ali to now promoting Tyson Fury, I mean, what a legend that man is.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? This has been a joint venture, and great to see everyone working hand in hand with one another. But right now, speaking of hands, Navarrete is looking to land a big shot upon Jeo Santisima, but Santisima comes right back, going to the body, and the action intensifying.
Yep. Those looping hooks that come from Navarrete is really the book on him, and then to the body goes Santisima, which is his game plan as well. So, I mean, it gets exciting. You feel the energy pick up when they exchange, but Navarrete getting the job done primarily just off using his jab.
And that's a great point as he connects with the left hook upon Santisima. Navarrete in this fight is fighting a consistent pace. Santisima is fighting in spurts as he connects with the right hand, but Santisima has to get going with more punches and bring more pressure to Navarrete, because it will be a detriment if he allows Navarrete to dictate the pace.
Yeah, and you don't want to dig yourself into a hole against Navarrete where you have to just let it fly and go for a knockout. I mean, if he was doing well and had some success when he worked the body and let his hands go, he's got to get back to doing that. Santisima, I mean, he hasn't really jabbed much at all.
Well, he's waiting for that big home run shot, and Navarrete steps in with the sweeping left cross. Oh, there's a big shot! Oh my goodness! Navarrete was hit. He stumbled back with the ropes, Christina. He could have been off balance, but it certainly appeared like Navarrete was hurt.
Oh, it passed the eye test to me and you, and probably to the judges too. That was a really nice punch that landed off balance or not. That landed flush. That was a solid punch. The best punch of the fight so far for either fighter.
Well, we look forward to revisiting that in between rounds. What a shot from Jeo Santisima from the Philippines, making his United States debut here tonight with an opportunity of a lifetime to take home the WBO Super Bantamweight Championship of the world.
And Navarrete, that was a beautiful combination.
He threw a left followed by a right that snapped back the head of Santisima. Final moments as the action is heating up here in Las Vegas. We are a third of the way through this world title matchup here at 122 pounds. Well, you would gather to think that punch gives Santisima confidence heading into the middle part of the fight, because now he knows he can hurt Emanuel Navarrete.
Sure, and let's see if he can build on that momentum. He started round 4 strong, I think it was round 4 that he came out letting his hands go. I mean, he needs to continue to do that. He's got to make Emanuel Navarrete think. And if he's just standing there not letting his hands go, you're just going to let Navarrete work off that jab. He'll pepper you with that all night and win rounds.
Well, we discussed it about a round or two ago, Christina, that Santisima has to be more active. You know that Navarrete is an all-action fighter, aggressive. That is in the DNA of a Mexican fighter, especially a Mexican champion. But for Santisima, he has got to be able to get himself going soon.
Yeah, he needs to pick up the offensive pace. He probably won that last round off the way that punch looked. I think maybe to some of these judges, but he's got to pick up the activity level.
Completely agree with you, and Navarrete looking to press Santisima against the ropes. A left hook to the body by Navarrete. Navarrete unloading the combination. Not many of them, though, have landed flush for the champion. There's a left hook by Navarrete. Left hook upstairs for Santisima. Emanuel Navarrete and Jeo Santisima battling for the Super Bantamweight Championship. Navarrete coming forward. There's a right to the body by Santisima.
Let go, stop! No knockdown, give me gloves.
And referee in charge, Russell Mora, says no knockdown, it was a slip. There's a right cross, a left hook that connected by Santisima. Santisima literally putting down his head, Christina, throwing, but back comes Navarrete.
And Navarrete's letting his hands go. I mean, he probably has twice as many punches thrown at Jeo, and I think he has Jeo hurt a little bit right now.
Santisima seems to be hurt. He's going backwards. Navarrete in seek and destroy mode. Pounding away upon Jeo Santisima. Santisima might be succumbing to the pressure of the Mexican champion in Emanuel Navarrete. There's a left on the top of the skull of Santisima. Chopping right hands by the champion. But answering back is Santisima.
Jeo maybe threw a left-handed to keep himself in that fight, but he's got to show referee Russell Mora something right now, and he holds veteran move to try to keep himself in this fight, as we only have 10 seconds left here.
Emanuel Navarrete looking to swarm Jeo Santisima and make a 5th successful title defense in nearly the past 12 months. And that ends the round. What an action-packed round as Navarrete puts his hands on the turnbuckle. That's how exhausted he is. During the week, he seemed happy, he seemed relaxed. He seemed, he wasn't dry-mouthed at all during the fighter meetings either. So if you're Santisima, let me get this fight to the 7th or the 8th and then start to unload my power punches. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you got to be feeding off the adrenaline, the crowd. First world title shot, first time fighting in the U.S. Like, I mean, he's got high energy. He can throw. He can't match Vaquero punch for punch, but it's just one of those things where let your hands go and give yourself a chance, because Vaquero's going to be right there.
Absolutely. Well, he's not going anywhere. How about it there? And now, if you look at it, as Santisima is the one dictating the center of the ring, Navarrete is not as aggressive, at least in these opening moments of the 6th round, as he's gone to southpaw. He might be trying to take this round off or give himself a little bit of a respite as he's fighting, as he goes back to conventional.
He's probably like, I earned myself a little bit of a
Yes,
break
he
after
did,
what
yeah.
I did in round 5. And it probably has a sense that he has a comfortable lead, but you just can't get too comfortable in there.
I'm surprised that Santisima isn't walking forward more, because he is allowing Emanuel Navarrete to enjoy this time off in the round.
Well, this is where you take advantage. This is where you step it up. This is where you push the action. Try to get that ring generalship. Try to let your hands go. Even if you're not landing, the judges will appreciate and respect and possibly even score more of the round for you if you're pushing the action.
Also, too, hitting to the body. There's that left hook to the body by Santisima, but Navarrete steps into the 1-2 and a right hand that backs up Santisima.
Oh, nice.
Another right hand off the top of the head of Santisima, as we are approaching 70 seconds remaining in the 6th round. A left hook that connected by Santisima. Left by Navarrete. Both men have tasted one another's power.
By the same punch. Santisima kind of took a little stumble back there and then delivered his own, but again, not matching the punch output of Navarrete.
What an excellent matchup. In just our 2nd fight of the night between Jeo Santisima and Emanuel Navarrete. There's a right to the body by Santisima. Again, the corner of Santisima should be telling him, hit the body of Navarrete. This guy is getting tired, and he's obviously a pressure fighter, but look, attack the body to see if you can slow him down.
And I can take a peek at the CompuBox numbers right now, and it looks like in that round 5, Emanuel Navarrete threw 120 punches in that round, 106 power punches.
I threw 12 punches at the heavy bag in 60-second increments, and I'm exhausted, much less 120.
Well, and that's in comparison to only 27 power punches of Santisima.
Unbelievable, as we are halfway home. Well, Christina, the first half of the fight was entertaining and plenty of action. We'll see what we have as we enter round 7. Ray Flores, Christina Poncher, honored to be here ringside here in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. The WBO Super Bantamweight Championship is on the line as the champion, Emanuel Navarrete, looking for his 5th triumphant title defense. A right hand, chopping right hand, starting it off for Navarrete. Goes to southpaw, and he uncorks a straight left down the middle. 2 of them in a row there. It's working for him early, giving Jeo Santisima a different look. Has fought most of this fight in the orthodox stance, but 2 nice 1-2 punch combinations in the southpaw stance. There's another strong left hand. It's almost ambidextrous is Emanuel Navarrete, and I think that serves him well, because for a young fighter, he's probably thinking, what is this guy doing to me? And it takes him a little while to process these different looks, especially when you are starting off and you are typically a conventional fighter. It's not like Santisima prepared for a southpaw in this fight. There's a right to the body by Santisima to Navarrete. There's a left hook followed by a right, spraying Jeo Santisima. We're at the halfway mark of the 7th. Navarrete switching stances between combinations. It's pretty impressive, and landing it both. Oftentimes, though, you get caught. If he fights a fighter with a little bit better timing, he may be caught right in the middle of that switch, or sacrifices defense as he starts to let go of some of those wild hooks that he's known for. Well, getting to your point, Christina, and Navarrete continues to hammer away upon the head of Jeo Santisima, but when Navarrete switches and he's coming forward, Santisima goes backward. Instead, he should come forward and try to get the pressure and the forward movement, followed by the right hand, and you get double the impact upon your power punch. Yeah, something when he watches his tape back that he'll have to make a mental note of, that he needs to work on in the gym, especially because sometimes Navarrete is caught, standing straight in front of him with both feet not even at an angle because he's in between switching. But what I'm impressed by Navarrete, and there's a right hand that connected for Navarrete, is he has these subtle head movements. So he knows that Santisima is a power puncher, but he has these little slight head movements and these slight feints that make it difficult for Santisima to connect upon him.
And the problem with Santisima right now is that he's fighting primarily going backwards, and he's not as comfortable letting his hands go in that from, you know, off his back foot, retreating backwards.
And they both, prior to the first fight against Tyson Fury, it was spoken that Wilder was dealing with a cold or even a borderline flu, which is why he came in underweight in that matchup against Tyson Fury. Fury weighed in at 273, 17 pounds above the first fight. He weighed in at 256 in their first fight.
Yeah, so both guys heavier than the first, and you know, I think the motive behind that is different for each guy, but we'll see if the additional weight on each. I mean, Deontay doesn't need any help in the power department, but let's see if it makes a difference for Tyson Fury.
Well, Tyson Fury has said, I'm going to knock him out. I think he told you on Tuesday, he goes, I'm going to knock him spark out, or I'm going to spark him, is what he told you.
Yeah,
so.
he's sticking by that second round. I don't know how many people have gone to the sports book and took his word on that. I wasn't rushing there to go for a second round knockout, but that's the goal still to this day.
Well, to this day, and that's Deontay Wilder. Yes, to this day. And what a day it is here in Las Vegas. But right now, a left hook for Santisima on this day of February 22nd here in the United States.
Navarrete's having a day right now, a field day, throwing punches, over 500 punches thrown through 7 rounds here. It's the activity level at this division, at this weight, it's unparalleled from Emanuel Navarrete.
He gets clipped with a left hook. Did Navarrete from Santisima, but back comes Navarrete. I think you could throw a sledgehammer at Emanuel Navarrete. He'd shake it off and come back and throw a 9-piece combination at you.
Yep, agreed. Santisima's got to pick up the pace.
Well, and how do you, if you're Santisima, does he have a plan B, a plan C? In prize fights, those that have just one game plan typically doesn't serve them well. Do you have another gear? Do you have other things that you can go to? For Santisima, at least to us, it doesn't appear that way.
I'd have to agree with you, and part of that is just that he hasn't really fought the highest level of opposition. In his last 5 fights, his opponents have a record of 61, 32, and 5. So that's about 56% win percentage. So he's got some learning to do at this level.
Well, it always goes to the adage, iron sharpens iron, and when you're dealing with tough adversaries, it makes you better.
And I'm not saying Navarrete's fought the toughest competition or opposition either, but he's a world champion. He's got to this point. He takes everybody's best shot every time he steps into the ring.
In terms of caliber of opponents, you have to give the edge to Navarrete.
Yep.
And Navarrete now coming forward once again towards Santisima as we are headed towards the final third of the fight. What a matchup here in Las Vegas. Well, Santisima has had only a few moments, but typically this has been the Emanuel Navarrete show here in Las Vegas as we enter the 9th round. They touch gloves as a sign of respect, and away we go. Emanuel Navarrete, a champion at 122 pounds. Jeo Santisima in the midst of a 15-fight win streak.
And Santisima, in his last 2 fights, only 2 he had in 2019. The first one of the year was a first-round knockout, and the second one was a third-round knockout. So he's only fought 4 rounds in the last 13 months. He did have a 12-round fight where he went the distance. So let's see if he can keep himself in these later rounds up to par as the constant pressure of Navarrete continues to wear on you.
Well, Navarrete is the kind of fighter that likes to just keep bringing punches and hurling them at all different parts of the target. We've seen Navarrete go to the body. We've seen him bury his attack upstairs. He's constantly placing his punches in different parts of your body and your head as well, Christina.
With his activity level, you know, when I go and watch a fighter like, let's say, Vasily Lomachenko spar, the sparring partners always say, like, it's like he takes you into deep waters and then he, like, drowns you. He doesn't let you up for air. He continues to work different angles, pitter-patter all the time. Navarrete has that kind of output, and he throws sometimes from these awkward angles where it's like, I know it's easier said than done. I keep telling Santisima to let his hands go. You get in there and try to let your hands go.
No doubt.
I understand that it's difficult,
But if you're in the corner of Jeo Santisima, you have to wonder, as we are after the midway point of the 9th, he may be letting this opportunity slip past him. And it is due to the pressure of Navarrete and also a lack of activity from Santisima.
Yeah, which is the exact opposite situation that Navarrete has been in.
Navarrete, look, he got tired a little bit, but then I feel like he's gotten his second win because he looks very good here in the 9th round. He looks just as fresh in the 9th as he did in the 3rd.
Well, yeah, aside from that 5th round where he threw over 100 punches, he has decreased his output, but it's still likely double that of Santisima.
Well, and it is calculated pressure that Navarrete is giving you.
Exactly.
It is not reckless pressure.
Exactly.
It is calculated pressure off the jab, using head movement, attacking the body, using hooks, switching, being ambidextrous when you feel the need to do so.
As I saw Navarrete kind of shake that right hand out a few times, and he shook it again right there, Ray. And he's throwing the left hand a lot more.
So it could be a sign that the right hand might have some issues. He threw the right hand there, but we've seen Navarrete go more to southpaw, and he is protecting that right hand, is the champion, Emanuel Navarrete. But still, to us, he has a sizable lead against Jeo Santisima. They both exchange at the end of the 9th. Round 10 on the way.
My son loves Family Feud. He's only 2 years old, but he knows how to say Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey, the outstanding comedian and host.
Oh, there's my man.
Great to see you, man.
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson, the LA Laker great.
Big boxing fan.
Absolutely.
Hey, these guys know how to bring the stars out, don't they?
Well, I mean, I am
Hello.
sure we're going to see a litany of it. I saw Jalen Rose yesterday at the weigh-in. He looked like he was just a kid in a candy store enjoying all of it.
Yeah, he's a big boxing fan, and I mean, this is like a throwback, right? These guys have throwback personalities, throwback styles, and that's how it used to be. Big fight night, Caesar's Palace, people get dressed up. Sitting ringside was like the place to be in all of sports for a mega fight.
Well, and that's what we're here tonight.
Yep.
This is the place to be. We are in the epicenter of the sporting universe tonight. The heavyweight championship of the world on the line. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford sitting just a couple of seats away from each other.
Take a look
and
at that.
Is that a sign of things to come? One can only hope.
I know we're supposed to be calling this action in the ring right now, but I couldn't help but notice them sitting just maybe a row in front of each other, but seats apart.
Look, that gets me a little excited,
I know.
Christine. I'm just saying, it's giving me a
I had
little
to say
bit.
it.
It's giving me ideas, but the idea right now for Emanuel Navarrete, keep doing what you're doing, and for Santisima, he's got to think of other ideas to try to solve the puzzle that is the world champion.
And I don't know if he has any other ideas. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, taking a plan B, a plan C to do something different. And other than let his hands go more, I mean, he's not really working off the jab. He's keeping that kind of herky-jerky movement style to try to keep Navarrete on his toes, but Navarrete's calm with just popping his jab out there and winning the rounds just like that.
Santisima is spending more time expounding energy upon his upward body movement and isn't throwing. He has gone about 20 to 30 seconds without throwing a single punch, but he's probably had about a good 20 to 30 movements in his upper body. That's not going to win you a world title fight, especially when you are the challenger.
I don't think he's landed one punch this round, to be honest with you.
There's a right hand for Navarrete backing up Santisima, and an uppercut for Santisima. Finally threw a punch, but back comes Navarrete, throwing 7 or 8 punches. Look at the champion go!
We had some concerns about that right hand. He is throwing it, but it's really been the left hand that's been doing a lot of the damage as he throws 5, 6, 7 left hands, gets in 2 right hands in there. It's phenomenal work rate from the champion right now.
A left hook by Navarrete as he's bullying now. Santisima has his back on the rope. Santisima trying to tie up. Navarrete springs loose from him, and then he unloads a right hand right on the chin of Santisima. The pressure really starting to get to the challenger from the Philippines.
And I think I got word that maybe the wrap on the right hand of Navarrete is a little bit loose, perhaps. They're not really saying whether or not he thinks he heard it or not, but perhaps that's why he was shaking it out, but I guess we'll find that out later.
Navarrete with a left and a right on the top of the head, and that ends the 10th round we are headed towards. It's like, oh, you want an 8-piece, you want a 10-piece, here you go.
Spicy, not spicy.
Yeah, exactly.
2 sides, 4 sides.
Getting me hungry, Christina.
I know, I'm always hungry.
Enjoy a nice dinner after tonight is over, but
we've earned it.
Oh, absolutely, and right now, Emanuel Navarrete is earning this victory based on how much he's coming forward. There was a question coming into this fight, Christina, about the cardiovascular conditioning of Navarrete because he had a difficult weight cut. He has answered those questions with flying colors.
Yeah, he has. I mean, I'd be interested to see how his total punch output in this fight compares to the last few because, like you talked about, the weight cut was rough, but it seems not to come into play too much considering the fact that Santisima's activity level isn't what I thought it was going to be in this fight.
Well, Santisima is known as a heavy hitter, but in order to be a heavy hitter, you have to throw.
Yep, and there he goes. He lands a couple good body shots right there, back to the body. And as I was talking about early in the fight, that's his bread and butter, is going to the body, and that's where he's had most of his knockout, and is breaking the fighters down low.
Could it also be a case as Navarrete has his arms on the ropes and he's inviting Santisima in?
He's like, let's go. Let's put on a show.
I would almost feel like Navarrete is bored as to say, come on, man, like I'm inviting you in, let's do this.
Yeah, and he really wants to get the knockout.
There's a left hook, and now Navarrete really pouring it on. Santisima bullying him around the ring, snapping back his head. Look at the champion unload as he is walloping Jeo Santisima. He was almost running, and right now, this may be close to being stopped. Santisima getting clobbered with a bevy of punches. Russell Mora watching the action. Navarrete teeing up on Santisima. Santisima in deep, deep trouble with a minute 5 to go.
He was holding on for dear life to try to keep himself in this fight. How much more of this punishment can he take as he nearly wrestles Navarrete down? He is exhausted. Russell Mora needs to take a very close look right now at Jeo Santisima.
Under 50 seconds remaining. Emanuel Navarrete trying to get the finish. Look at the champion go. And Russell Mora stopped it. This one is over. Emanuel Navarrete has stopped Jeo Santisima to once again retain his world title.
And I think the towel came in at exactly the same time as Russell Mora stepped in. A barrage of punches, and Emanuel Navarrete's knockout streak continues.
The corner said, all right, enough is enough, as Russell Mora was putting himself literally in the line of fire to go ahead and stop this fight. Here's Jimmy Leonard Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 2 minutes, 20 seconds of round number 11. Our referee in charge, Russell Mora, stops the contest. He is the winner by way of knockout and still the WBO Junior Featherweight Champion of the World. Well, El Vaquero Navarrete.
Emanuel Navarrete retains his title, his 5th consecutive successful title defense, and he's standing by with Bernardo Osuna.
One another. Emanuel, duraste 11 episodios. ¿Qué pasó con la mano? ¿Cuál fue la situación con la mano? What happened with your hand?
Un golpe feo, un golpe como de costado, me lastimé el pulgar derecho, pero tenemos que defender el título con todo corazón, ¿vos?
I hit him weirdly with my right hand, and I did hurt my thumb, but I had to, plow through it and get the victory tonight. Quinta defensa de tu corona mundial, todas ellas por la vía del cloroformo. ¿Qué fue distinta en esta pelea? Porque duraste. Your 5th world title defense, all of them have been stoppage wins. What took you so long? Because he was a tough guy.
Sí, así es, gracias a Dios estamos aquí en Vegas realizando lo que es la quinta defensa del título mundial. El Vaquero, me siento muy agradecido con toda la gente que me ha apoyado. Y yo creo que la pelea duró mucho porque San Martín es un filipino, un guerrero que no se muere sino en la raya.
I'm extremely excited to be fighting again here in Las Vegas, making that 5th world title defense on the grandest of stages. And the fight did take a long time because I had a very tough opponent.